Good morning, grade 9s. Today our lesson is on equations of linear relations. In this lesson, you will determine the linear equation from a graph. Example 1. Find the equation of the graph. A, that is a graph. My graph isn't to scale, so I've attached a set of notes that you can look at as well. Step 1 is to make a table of value. So what I do is I look at the line that is given. I have to make a table, so I start off with x and y, and I look at my points. My first point, when x is equal to 0, y is 3. When x is equal to 1, y is 1. When x is equal to 2, y is negative 1. When x is equal to 1, 2, 3, y is negative 3. When x is equal to 4, y is negative 5. So I made a table of value with the, I made a table of value with the given graph. That's your step number 1. Step number 2 is to find B. B is the point that hits your y-axis. So this is your y-axis. I'm looking for this point. And at that point, my y is equal to, so this is my B, which is at positive 3. Okay, your B is always there, or it's the point when as x is equal to 0, your B is 3. So this is also your B. So you can look at your table. Your B is when x is equal to 0, or you can look at the graph where it touches your y-axis. So I've done step 1, I've done step 2. Step 3 is to find your A. And remember when we've done this in the past, A is equal to the change in y divided by the change in x. So how do I figure out the change of y? I look at what's happening here. I'm going down by 2. I'm going down by 2. I am going down by 2. So my change in y is going down by 2. Then here I look at my x. Every single time I am going up by 1. So x is 1. So my A is equal to negative 2. So I made a table of value. I found my B and I found my A. Once you have found all those, now I can come up with my equation. Remember, when the question asks you to come up for an equation, they're asking you to find y is equal to ax plus b. And we're asking you to find your A and your B. I found my A and B. I'm just going to erase this. So now I just substitute those in for these letters. So my equation becomes y is equal to negative 2x plus 3. And this is your final answer. That is my equation for this line. So anytime you have a question like this, your first step is to make a table of value. From your table of value, you can find your B and your A, and then write it as a equation. Now let's look at example B. If I look at example B, I have a vertical line. So if I were to make my table x, y, when x is equal to 3, y is equal to 0. When x is equal to 3, if I want to find this point, y is 1. If I want to find this point, x is still equal to 3 and y is equal to negative 1. As you come up with points, you will realize that x is always going to be 3. So if I have to write an equation for a vertical line, your equation always is going to be x is equal to, and in this case, because it goes through the x-axis at 3, the answer is 3. So your equation for a vertical line is always going to be x equals something. In this case, is x equals 3. When I look at letter C, this time I have a horizontal line. If I were to make an xy table, here when x is equal to 0, y is equal to negative 2. When x is equal to 1, y is equal to negative 2. When x is equal to negative 1, my y is equal to negative 2. So in this case, what you'll notice is when you have a horizontal line, your y will always be one number. In this case, it's negative 2. So when I write my equation, it's just going to be y is equal to negative 2. And that is my final answer. So the vertical and horizontal line look the hardest, but they're the easiest ones to come up with an equation. A vertical line goes to the x-axis at a point, so it's x equals something. A horizontal line goes through the y-axis, so it's y equals something. So in your homework, you'll be given lines. You can have a diagonal line, a vertical line, or a horizontal line, and you will be asked to find the equations for every single type of line. Example 2 is a word problem. The graph shows the height of an airplane descending towards a runway. Descending means the airplane is getting lower and lower and lower until it hits our runway. So A says build a table of value, describe the pattern shown. So if I look at my graph, I know my x is my time, and I know y is my height. So then if I look at my point on my graph, the first point is at time 0, my plane is 300 meters off the ground. So this is the point it starts to descend. Then if I look at my second point, when time is 1 minute, it's gone down to 250. For 2, it's gone down to 200. For 3, it's gone down to 150. And the pattern keeps going. So if we look at the pattern, we know from 0 to 1, I'm adding 1. From 300 to 250, I'm losing 50. So if I have to describe this pattern shown, I would say for in 1 second, the plane descends 50 meters. So every second, the plane is descending by 50 meters. That's A. B says use the graph to come up with an equation. Remember, when I want to come up with an equation, I need y, is equal to ax plus b. So I need to figure out my a and I need to figure out my b. B is simple. B is when x is equal to 0. So this is b. Okay? To find my a, in this case, I have to do my change. Remember, to find a is always your change in y over your change in x. So change in y is negative 50. Change in x is positive 1. So that gives me negative 50. So what would my equation be? My equation is going to be y is equal to negative 50x plus 300. And that becomes my equation. Okay? C, using the equation, what would the airplane be at 3 seconds? This time I have x and y. I know x is for time, y is for my height. They're giving me time. So I substitute. My y is going to be equal to negative 50 times it by 3 plus 300. Y is going to be equal to negative 150 plus 300. So my y is going to be equal to 150 meters. So at 3 seconds, my plane is going to be 150 meters above the ground. You could have used this equation because it's asking you to. Otherwise, you could have also used your graph to check your answer. So the main part of today's lesson is to look at a graph and come up with an equation. And when you're doing this, the best thing to do is to come up with a table of value. Using your table of value, you can calculate your A and calculate your B and come up with your equation. This is the last lesson in this chapter. On Monday, I will be giving you an assignment, and the assignment would be due on Tuesday. So if you want extra practice, I would look at the review because your assignment will have similar types of questions as a review in the book. So good luck with the lesson. Any questions and concerns, please email me or send me a message on Teams. Thank you. Bye.